Hi guys, my name is Matthew. In life, sometimes unthinkable things happen and people do not deliberate their actions. I want to tell you about how my foster parents sold me to my mom for $500,000. This phrase sounds absurd, but believe me, this happens in life. I hope my story will serve as a lesson to many. My story started from my birth. My mother got pregnant when she was only 17, naturally by accident. As she says, the father was her age and afraid of responsibility and disappeared somewhere. And she didn't have any relatives, so she grew up as an orphan. And so she had to face this problem, so to speak, one on one. I understand that it was not easy for her, because she was in fact still a child, and she didn't have a lot of money. The only solution was to leave me in an orphanage. But as you know, children are not well looked after there. Any mother wishes her child a good life, and she decided to take a dangerous and illegal step. She found a couple on the internet named Emma and Daniel, and right after I was born, she sold me to them for $1,000. So I didn't even know for a long time who my parents really were. Emma had problems with infertility. Doctors diagnosed her that she could not have any children. At first, they seemed to love me very much and treated me like their native child. They bought me everything new, took me to different entertainment places, and took care of my education. Everything seemed to be fine, right? But medicine does not stand still. Soon, when they found treatment for infertility, Emma was the first in line. A miracle happened, and she was able to get pregnant. She also had a son named Michael. They were overjoyed. I do not know what happened, but with the birth of their own son, they began to treat me more rudely, not as their own biological child. At that time, I did not know that I was adopted, and so it was very strange for me why they treated me like this. They stopped paying attention to me. I even got used to the fact that I was often forgotten to be picked up from school. They took Michael to different courses while I started doing household chores after school at an early age. If Michael bought new toys, then his old and broken ones were given to me, and everything else like that. This cruel attitude towards me was manifested more and more every time. Over time, they began to scold me for the slightest mistake or fault. Every time I did something wrong, Daniel pulled out his leather belt. Of course, they were only trying to scare me, but I didn't even have to do anything wrong, or I could just be in the wrong place at the wrong time. When I turned 16, my parents said they were not going to pay for my studies anymore, and they did not care that I would drop out of school. But I didn't want to do that, so I had to get a job to somehow find money for the contract. Fortunately, the owner of the local fast food restaurant agreed to take me to work for half the rate. It gave me hope. I performed all the tasks that were given to me with great responsibility. After school, I immediately went to work and was there until night, every day. At first, I washed the dishes in the restaurant. Not to say that's a good job, but I liked the feeling that I could earn money on my own. After all, they say there is no bad work. Our team was also very friendly. It was even more pleasant to be there than at home. At least no one scolded me there, and my parents didn't even think of where I was or what I was doing. I think it was even easier for them that I wasn't home at all. Seeing my efforts, the chief decided to promote me and appointed me to a new position. I became a cashier and already took orders from guests. This was career growth, so to speak. I kept up with my studies. In my free time, I did my homework, so it was all right. But once I noticed that one woman began to frequent our fast food restaurant. She looked like she was well off, and for me, people like her rarely go to places like that. She only ordered coffee every day and could sit and watch me for hours. I couldn't figure out what she wanted from me, but I didn't dare ask. She also ordered only from me. Even when I was busy, she waited until I was free. You could say it even scared me. She watched my every move intently. You know how creepy it is if you're being watched all the time by someone you don't know? One day, I had to stay after work and clean the hall as a duty officer, and all the visitors had already left. But this woman didn't leave. When I went to warn her about the closing, she took my hand and asked me to sit down and talk. I was shocked by this, but I still sat down. She introduced herself as Linda and asked me to listen and understand. She said that she was my biological mother and told me how she went to such a step and, so to speak, sold me. After all, she was very young and helpless, but now she works for a prestigious firm and has a good home. And since the moment she lost me, she couldn't calm down about it and gave her word that no matter what, she would find me. My brain did not perceive this information, and I could not believe what she was saying, and this was nonsense. But at the time, I thought about it. The thought never left my mind. I decided to check with my parents, as it were, whether this was actually true. This news greatly surprised and angered them. Emma said that yes, it really was true. And if I want to, then I can go to her, but on one condition, that I will have to work and return all the money they spent on me since my childhood. Well, that's about $500,000. Well, until I could pay them, they took my documents. I hated being around them, so I packed my backpack and went to work. I wanted to pay the money as soon as possible and never see them again. I spent the night secretly at work, so the chief didn't know. I slept in the back room, and in the morning I went to school. Since the last conversation with Linda, she had stopped coming, and I hadn't seen her for a long time. But I really didn't care. I knew in my heart that this was my real mother. A week later, Emma called me and told me to come home immediately, but I didn't want to see them, so I turned off my phone so they wouldn't bother me, and quietly worked on. Whatever happened, I didn't care. Then Linda came to us one day. She had an envelope in her hand, and with tears in her eyes, she asked me to listen to her. She slipped me the envelope and told me that she took my documents and paid all the money that Emma and Daniel demanded from me. I was shocked because this is not a small amount. Unless she has such savings, in fact, it turned out that she sold her house, car, and even jewelry for this. But why, do you ask? Any mother would do anything for her child, and for Linda, it was not a pity to lose everything so long that her son did not suffer. She was very sorry that she sold me, and from that moment she realized her huge mistake. Now my biological mother and I live together, but in a rented apartment. I'm not used to calling her mom yet, but I try. But all this is not important because I really felt now what a mother's love is. In life, everything happens, and sometimes people do not deliberate and do terrible things. Share what interesting stories you had. Maybe something similar happened to your friends.
Hi everyone, my name is Felix. Once I was given an original gift for my birthday, even too much. I once swore that I would like to have any pet so that it would not be boring, and my girlfriend gave an iguana. It all started like this. I lived with my parents for a long time. I finished university and started working. I had a girlfriend with whom I had a long relationship. My parents had known her for a long time and hinted every 6 months that I should marry her already. Mary is a great girl, and she cooks and sews, and she is smart enough, but I wasn't quite ready. I had my own plans for life, and first I wanted to move away from my parents and live an independent life. So I did. You can't imagine what a thrill it is to live alone. I went home in my underwear, or even naked, slept, ate where I wanted, what I wanted, my own boss. A lot of personal time. A couple of times a week I invited friends to sit down, and on the other days a girl came to see me. Mary cooked for me, cleaned. No, you do not think. I did not force her. She just cannot stand when the house is in chaos. So she came to me to clean up and left. That was fine with me. I would come home from work, eat what she had prepared in advance, and go to bed. I lived like this for about 6 months. Well, then I began to notice that my girlfriend walks some kind of mood drooping. I talked to her, and it turned out that she was seriously hinted at home that she should get married. Of course, for me, when she told me about it, I was in shock. It's not that I don't think about it, it's just that I feel bad. And she suddenly says, "Honey, we can get married later, but in the meantime, just live together. You don't mind if I pass it, do you?" And then she looks at me with this round eyes and extended eyelashes and blinks very fast. Then I remembered everything my friends had told me. Yes, I have a girl in my apartment, so now I have to walk around with the door closed. Bro, I have as much hair on the floor at home as my parents don't have at home from 3 dogs. Pray she doesn't go on a diet or you won't get any meat. You'll eat stinky broccoli and drink smoothies. This is nothing, but if she thinks that you messed up, minus 5,000 rubles from your card for a manicure and pedicure. Late home, minus 9,000 for hair coloring. Did not remember about the anniversary? Ooh, that ring from Tiffany for 25,000 rubles plus a restaurant to show off that new dress and manicure. I think all this horror was drawn on my face at the most crucial moment. Naturally, my girlfriend thought that everything is easy and simple, and why would I move in together? And I saw it as something more. Yes, I was uneasy and even a little scared. In short, you understand, she was offended. I couldn't think of anything more witty to say than that I wanted to practice sharing my space. I need a pet, I said. At first, Mary did not understand. To be honest, I did not understand what I said. And then I explained to her that I had long wanted to have someone to learn how to take care of them and take responsibility for them, and promised to buy me a dog or cat. To somehow get out of it and complicate the task, I said that I needed something more exotic. I didn't want to have anyone, and I didn't want a dog or cat anymore. I thought she'd think about it and forget, or not look for it. My birthday was coming up. I gathered friends at the cafe and Mary. We had a great time, and Mary says that my gift will arrive tomorrow. I was intrigued. The next morning, the apartment bell rang, and I opened the door all sleepy and slightly hungover. My girlfriend was standing there, holding a huge box. "Surprise," she said, smiling. I was intrigued. I took the gift, put it on the table, and there's an iguana. I even screamed in fear and surprise. Mary laughed and said that everything is as I wanted, both pet and exotic. Damn it, I thought. But I did my best to pretend I was thrilled. I called him Jim, and he lived in a terrarium that took up half the room. I read on the internet what to feed it, how to bathe it. Well, I bathed him with Mary, because it's a long process. In short, it did not bother me in principle. Sometimes I let him walk around the apartment, and then he learned to get out by himself. So one night I felt a sharp pain in my leg, in my sleep. I thought I was being bitten by a dog. I screamed in pain. I opened my eyes and see Jim sitting next to me, staring at me. I was scared. "Jim, your mother. What the fuck?" I kicked him out of the room and went to bed. The next morning I told Mary about it, and she laughed and said it was just a kiss. But no kidding, the bite site hurt. I went to work, and when I got home in the evening, I found that my finger felt a little swollen. Jim, what are you doing?" I said to the lizard, and I was surprised. He sat next to me on the bed and looked at me with such devoted eyes, as if he was ashamed of what had happened. I was a little confused and went to the bathroom. When I went to the kitchen, Jim was sitting on the windowsill, looking at me again. I went back and forth, and he followed me, and I went to bed, and he was next to me. The next day, I told him not to worry, that everything was fine. "I'm a little mad at you, but now you know you can't do that. I've forgiven you. Don't think that I'm going to punish you. I see that you repent," I said to him, stroked him, and left. I called Mary and told her everything, and she laughed and said that the animals really feel us. And then she stressed that she gave me such a heartfelt gift. A day later, my legs started to hurt even more, and Jim was also following me around. I decided to consult a doctor, took the lizard with me, and went to the doctor. You know what I found out? It turns out that this type of iguana is poisonous. He bit me and put poison in my finger, and then he followed me around and waited for me to die. That's what it turns out. It was both funny and creepy. I immediately called my girlfriend and told her everything. She was terribly ashamed. "I'm not a husband yet, but I've already decided to get rid of it," I told her jokingly. In general, we took it to the pet store. I still wanted to live. Only then Mary promised to buy me a dog, and I couldn't stand it and confessed everything. Ask about her reaction? I'm shopping with her right now, buying a new dress, a Tiffany ring, and I'm taking her to a restaurant tonight.